The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Ambassador Cathara stood at the center of the circular room, her blue crystal skin reflecting the dim lights above. Around her, representatives from 17 different alien species sat in their special chairs, each one made for their unique body shapes. Some had fur, others had scales, and a few glowed with their own light. But all of them looked scared. Cathara pressed a button on the device in her hand. Her voice, though translated by machines, carried the weight of desperation that needed no translation. This is our final message to anyone who might hear it. My people, the Valyrians, are dying. All of us in the Galactic Council are dying. Paused, and what humans would have called tears rolled down her crystal face. 3 solar cycles ago, the Drakethul Collective arrived at our borders. We tried to talk to them, to find peace as we always do. They answered with weapons and death. They do not want our resources or our planets. They want to destroy everything that lives. On the large screen behind her, images played showing the horror that had swept across the outer rim of the galaxy. Massive, insect-like creatures, twice the size of most species, tore through cities with claws and acid. Their ships, blackened, twisted like giant beetles, rained destruction on peaceful worlds. Millions of civilians ran in panic as buildings melted under the alien weapons. Our combined fleets have tried to stop them, Cathara continued. We are explorers, traders, artists, and healers. Our ships were built to carry goods and families between stars, not to fight wars. The Drakethul have destroyed 60% of our forces. Entire worlds have gone silent. The ambassador from the Zenthi Union, a tall being covered in silver, fur, spoke up. How many refugees have escaped the Outer Rim? Less than 30% of the population, Cathara replied. The Drakethul hunt down evacuation ships. They seem to enjoy the chase. Fear filled the chamber. These species had lived in peace for over 1,000 years. They had cured diseases, built beautiful cities, and created art that inspired across the galaxy. But none of them remembered how to fight a real war. Representative Kadar, whose people looked like walking trees with many arms, asked the question they all feared. How long before they reached the inner systems? 6 months, maybe less, Cathara said. Their advanced fleets are already moving toward the core worlds. My home planet, Valyria Prime, will fall within weeks. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Some spoke of evacuation plans, others of hiding their populations on distant worlds. A few suggested surrender, hoping the Drakethul might show mercy. There is one option we have not tried, Cathara said, her voice cutting through the noise. The room fell silent again. We broadcast a general distress signal to all unknown regions of space. If there are other species out there, ones we have not met, perhaps some of them know how to fight. That violates the contact protocols, said the Zenthi ambassador. We could expose ourselves to other hostile species. We are already exposed, Cathara replied. The Drakethul will not stop with us. If there are others out there who might help, we must try. The vote was close, but desperation won. The council authorized the broadcast of an open distress signal. To any species within 50 light-years who might be listening, Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the signal came through. The Earth survey vessel Helena was conducting routine mineral surveys in the Kepler system, far from any known alien activity. Jake had been in space for 15 years, and this was supposed to be a quiet mission mapping asteroid fields. Captain, you need to hear this, said Communications Officer Lisa Chang from her station. She was young for deep space duty, but her skills with alien languages had earned her the position. Jake walked over to her console, coffee mug still in hand. What is it, Lisa? It's a broad-spectrum transmission. It's multiple languages, but our computers are translating most of it. She pressed a few buttons, and a female voice filled the bridge. To any species capable of warfare, we are dying. The Drakethul Collective has begun a campaign of extermination across our territories. We are the Galactic Council, a union of 17 peaceful species. We have no experience with large-scale military operations. The enemy shows no interest. In negotiation or surrender, they kill everything they find. Jake set down his coffee mug. How far away is this signal coming from? Navigation Officer Pete Collins checked his instruments. About 3 weeks at maximum burn, sir. The transmission includes star charts and tactical data. Show me, Jake said. The main screen lit up with images that made the bridge crew go silent. Alien cities burning, families running from monsters that looked like giant insects with metal parts grafted to their bodies, ships designed for exploration being torn apart by weapons that seemed built only to cause pain. These Drakethul, Jake said quietly. What do we know about their technology? Chief Engineer Pete Collins had been studying the tactical data. Their weapons are powerful but crude, sir. Mostly chemical-based explosives and acid sprayers. Their ships are tough, but slow. Their tactics seem to rely on overwhelming numbers. And fear? Jake nodded slowly. The aliens in the distress signal had no idea what they were asking for. The Galactic Council sounded like a peaceful alliance of species who had never faced a real military threat. They were calling out blindly, hoping someone, somewhere, might know how to fight. What they didn't know was that humanity had been watching them for decades. Jake walked to his private quarters and activated a secure communication system that officially didn't exist. The signal bounced through several relay stations before reaching Earth Command, buried 3 miles under the Rocky Mountains. This is Morrison. Authorization code Alpha 7 Delta. I need to speak with Admiral Sullivan immediately. Within minutes, the weathered face of Admiral Kate Sullivan appeared on Jake's screen. She had been running humanity's shadow operations for over 20 years. Ever since Earth's governments had decided to keep their existence secret from the peaceful alien civilizations they had discovered, I saw the distress signal, Jake Sullivan said without greeting. The whole galaxy is watching their first real war. What are your orders, Admiral? Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. You know what Earth Command has always said? We stay hidden. We observe. We don't interfere with alien civilizations. Damn, they're facing extinction. Entire species being wiped out. I know. Sullivan's voice carried decades of hard decisions. But if we reveal ourselves, everything changes. These peaceful species will learn that Earth is what the xenobiologists classify as a Class 12 death world. They'll discover that humans are natural-born killers who have been perfecting warfare for 3 million years. That knowledge will terrify them. Jake looked at the tactical data still playing on his screen. Families running, cities burning, defenders dying because they simply didn't know how to fight effectively. Admiral, respectfully, they're already terrified. At least this terror might keep them alive. Sullivan studied Jake's face through the communication link. She had served in 3 different wars before taking command of humanity's secret fleet. She knew the cost of violence, but she also knew the cost of standing by while innocents died. Stand by, Captain. I need to make some calls. The transmission ended, leaving Jake alone with the images of alien civilizations facing their darkest hour. Somewhere in the shadows of human space, decisions were being made that would change the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council had cried out for aid, not knowing that their call had reached a species that had spent millions of years learning to survive on a world that tried to kill them every day. They had no idea that 13 warships waited in the darkness, crewed by the descendants of hunters who had once faced down creatures that made the Drakethul look tame. Humanity was about to surface from the shadows, and the galaxy would never be the same. The space around Valyria Prime looked like a graveyard. Pieces of destroyed ships floated in the darkness, some still glowing from the fires burning inside them. The beautiful orbital stations that had once welcomed traders from across the galaxy were now twisted metal and broken dreams. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UN's Retribution, watching the destruction through the main viewing screen. Her ship was invisible to all sensors, hidden by technology that the peaceful aliens had never imagined possible. Around her, 12 other human warships waited in the shadows, their crews preparing for what humans did better than any other species in the galaxy. Report, Sullivan said to her tactical officer. Commander Amy Parker looked up from her instruments. The Drakethul have 47 ships in the system, Admiral. Most are concentrated around the planet, hunting evacuation transports. They're ground. Forces have taken 70% of the major cities. The Drakethul were even more brutal than the intelligence reports had suggested. These insect-like creatures didn't just conquer worlds, they seemed to enjoy the terror they caused. Every few minutes, another civilian transport would try to escape the planet's atmosphere, and the alien hunters would chase it down like a cat playing with a mouse. Communications? What are you hearing from the planet? Lieutenant Danny Rodriguez adjusted his headset. The Valyrian Defense Corps is barely holding together, Admiral. Their commander. Someone called Valyria is trying to organize evacuations from the capital city, but they're losing ground fast. Through the ship's speakers, they could hear the alien commander's voice, translated by their computers. Valyria sounded exhausted and desperate. Sector 7 has fallen. It cannot hold the capital much longer. All civilian transports, maintain your escape vectors and pray to the ancestors that you make it to hyperspace. Sullivan had seen many battles in her 30-year career, but this wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. The Valyrians were trying to fight with exploration ships and mining equipment against an enemy that lived for war. It was like watching children try to fight wild animals with toys. Admiral, said Commander Parker, the Drakethul are preparing for another ground assault. Their bioships are moving into position over the capital. Sullivan watched as the massive alien vessels, looking like giant beetles made of metal and bone, positioned themselves above the Valyrian city. She could see weapons charging, preparing to rain acid and fire on millions of innocent civilians. She had spent 20 years following orders to stay hidden, to observe but never interfere. Earth's governments had decided long ago that humanity's warrior nature would terrify the peaceful alien species they had discovered. Better to remain in the shadows than to reveal what humans really were. But watching genocide was not something Kate Sullivan could do. Danny, open a channel to the Valyrian fleet. The young communications officer looked surprised. Admiral, that will reveal our position? Do it. Danny's fingers moved over his controls. Channel open, ma'am? Sullivan took a deep breath. Her next words, she would change the galaxy forever. Valyrian vessels. This is Admiral Sullivan of the Terran Defense Force. We received your distress signal. Maintain your current positions and prepare for Allied support. Silence filled the void. Even the Drakethul seemed to pause their assault, confused by the unexpected transmission. Then Commander Valyria responded, his voice shaking with disbelief and hope. Unknown vessel, please identify your species and location. Our sensors detect. No ships at your transmission coordinates. Sullivan allowed herself a small smile. You will, Commander. Danny signaled the fleet. All ships deactivate stealth systems. Let's introduce ourselves. Yes, ma'am, Rodriguez replied. All ships. This. Is Retribution actual? Execute Operation Daybreak? Repeat. Execute Operation Daybreak. What happened next would be remembered in alien history books for centuries to come. 13 human warships shimmered into existence like ghosts becoming solid. The Retribution appeared first, its gray hull bristling with weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Then came the destroyers and cruisers, each one designed for one purpose: to kill efficiently and without mercy. The Valyrian sensor arrays screamed warnings as ships materialized from nothing. On every alien bridge, officers stared at displays showing vessels that hadn't been there seconds before.
Ow.
The technology required for such stealth was beyond anything in the Galactic Council's science. By the ancestors, whispered Commander Valyria. What are you? We're humans, Sullivan replied simply. And we're here to help. The Drakethil reacted first, as predators always do when faced with an unknown threat. The nearest swarm ship turned toward the human fleet, its organic weapons charging with deadly energy. Its captain, a massive insect creature with metal implants, covering half its body, opened communications to challenge these newcomers. Unknown species, you have entered a Drakethil feeding ground. Surrender your ships, and we may allow some of you to live as slaves. Sullivan's response was immediate and final. Negative. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system, or we will destroy you. The Drakethil captain made a sound that might have been laughter. 30 seconds. You have 13 small ships against our 47. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. What makes you think you can challenge the collective? 29 seconds, Sullivan said calmly. The alien captain cut the transmission and ordered his fleet to attack. 47 Drakethil ships moved toward the human formation, their weapons glowing with acidic fire. They had faced no species that could match their ferocity, no enemy that understood the true art of war. They were about to learn differently. All ships, weapons free, Sullivan commanded. Target the lead swarm ship. Let's show them what humans do best. The UN's Vanguard fired first. Captain Tony Blake's ship launched 6 tungsten rounds from its railgun, each projectile traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. The Drakethil swarm ship's organic armor, which had shrugged off alien energy weapons for months, crumpled. Like paper, a massive vessel broke apart in a silent explosion of fire and debris. Direct hit, reported Commander Parker. Enemy vessel destroyed. The Drakethil fleet hesitated. In 3 cycles of conquest, they had never lost a ship so quickly or completely. Their weapons were designed to cause terror as much as damage. But these humans had simply erased one of their strongest vessels without apparent effort. All ships. Spread formation, Sullivan ordered. Pick your targets and fire at will. What followed was not a battle, but a demonstration. Human weapons, refined through millennia of warfare on a death world, tore through Drakethil ships like they were made of thin metal. The aliens' bioweapons, so effective against civilian targets, barely scratched human military armor. Their swarm tactics, which relied on overwhelming peaceful explorers, meant nothing against species that had spent millions of years learning to kill efficiently. Commander Valthus watched from his damaged ship as the newcomers, systematically, destroyed the Drakethil fleet. How is this possible? He asked over the communication channel. Your ships are smaller than theirs, but your weapons, ... Our weapons are designed to kill other humans, Sullivan replied matter-of-factly. Humans are very hard to kill, Commander. Building weapons that can stop us tends to make them effective against everyone else. Within 20 minutes, 31 Drakethil ships were destroyed or crippled. The remaining 16 vessels there, captains finally understanding that they faced something beyond their experience, turned and fled toward the edge of the system. Sullivan watched them go without pursuit. Let them run, she told her fleet. I want survivors to spread the word. The galaxy has new protectors now. As the immediate threat ended, the Valyrian ships slowly approached the human fleet. Commander Valthus requested permission to come aboard the Retribution, his voice filled with awe and gratitude. Permission granted, Sullivan replied. But Commander, you should know that this is only the beginning. We have 12 more fleets positioned throughout your territory. The Drakethil expansion ends today. For the first time in months, there was hope in Valthus's voice. Who are you people? Where do you come from? Sullivan looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity's long isolation was over. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for 3 million years, Commander. We got very good at fighting back. The first Drakethil ground position died in fire and smoke before its defenders knew what hit them. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos watched through her helmet display as the alien bunker disappeared under precise artillery strikes. Her drop troops had been falling through Valyria Prime's atmosphere for only 10 minutes, but the battle was already turning. Alpha Team, move to Grid 77, Maria commanded through her radio. Beta Team, flank left and secure the evacuation route. Around her 40 human soldiers moved through the burning city like ghosts. Their powered armor made them faster and stronger than any Drakethil warrior, but more importantly, it contained technology that let them see in complete darkness, breathe poisonous air, survive direct hits from alien weapons. The Drakeful had been hunting Valyrian civilians through these streets for weeks. The insect-like creatures stood 8 feet tall, with natural armor plates and claws that could tear metal. Their acid sprayers had melted through bunkers and turned hiding places into death traps. Against unprotected aliens, they were unstoppable killing machines. Against human soldiers, they're just big bugs with an attitude problem. Sergeant Rick Davis moved up beside Maria, his assault rifle tracking movement in the ruins ahead. Colonel, I've got 20 Drakethul moving toward the civilian shelter at Grid 8-2. They're hunting a group of kids. Maria felt the familiar cold anger. That came when someone threatened children. It didn't matter that these were alien children from a species she had never met. Kids were kids, and nobody hunted kids while she was around. Take your squad and stop them, Rick. Use whatever force necessary. Yes, ma'am, with pleasure. Davis led his 6-man team through the rubble-filled streets, using hand signals that had been perfected in 100 human conflicts. The Drakethul never saw them coming. One moment the aliens were closing in on a group of terrified Valyrian young ones. The next moment they were dead. Human weapons didn't just kill efficiently. They had been designed to kill other humans, the most dangerous predators Earth had ever produced. Against aliens who had evolved on gentler worlds, the effect was devastating. From orbit, Admiral Sullivan watched the ground battle through satellite feeds. Each human squad moved with a precision that came from millions of years of evolutionary pressure. While other species had developed art, music, and philosophy, humans had spent their time learning to hunt in groups and kill anything that threatened their families. Admiral, we're receiving communications from Valyrian ground forces, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. Commander Valythus wants to coordinate with our troops. Put him through. Valythus appeared on the main screen, his crystalline features showing amazement and confusion. Behind him, Valyrian soldiers were setting up defensive positions, but their movements were clumsy compared to the human teams visible in other camera feeds. Admiral Sullivan, your soldiers move through combat as if it were natural to them. How is this possible? Maria Santos answered from the planet's surface, her voice calm despite the explosions echoing around her. It is natural to us, Commander. We come from a world where everything tried to kill us for millions of years. We got very good at fighting back. Valythus watched his tactical display as human positions advanced steadily through Drakethul territory. Your people don't seem to fear death. We fear it plenty, Maria replied, pausing to reload her weapon. But we fear failing to protect innocent people more. The truth was more complex than Maria could explain in the middle of a battle. Humans didn't fight without fear. They fought despite fear. Every soldier knew they might die, but they also knew that giving up meant letting others die instead. It was a calculation that every human made instinctively, bred into them by millions of years of tribal warfare and group survival. Captain, Tony Blake led the assault on the main Drakethul command center, a twisted biostructure that looked like a giant insect nest made of metal and bone. The aliens had fortified it with weapons that could melt through tank armor, protected it with their most experienced warriors. None of that mattered to Blake's Marines. Johnson, take your team around the back. Williams, set up overwatch on that building. Chen, I want explosives on the main entrance in 2 minutes. The humans moved with the efficiency of a machine built for killing. They didn't charge bravely into enemy fire like heroes in stories. They used cover, coordinated their attacks, and applied overwhelming force at exactly the right moment. It was warfare reduced to its most basic elements. Identify the enemy, maneuver to advantage, and eliminate the threat. The Drakethul defenders had never faced an enemy that thought tactically. Their previous conquests had involved overwhelming. Peaceful civilians are fighting desperate last stands by species with no military tradition. They expected frontal assaults, individual heroics, and the kind of honorable combat that civilized species preferred. Instead, Saga human warfare. Blake's explosives took out the main entrance while his snipers eliminated sentries. Team attacked from behind while Williams provided covering fire from above. The Drakethul found themselves surrounded, outgunned, and facing an enemy that had no interest in fair fights. "Command center secured," Blake reported, beginning intelligence gathering. Inside the alien structure, Blake's technical specialist began downloading data from Drakethil computers. The information they found painted a picture of an invasion, far larger than anyone had realized. The attack on the Galactic Council was just the beginning. The Drakethil had plans to sweep across the entire galaxy, consuming every intelligent species they found. "Admiral, you need to see this," Blake transmitted. "They've got target lists for over 300 star systems. This isn't just about territory, it's about complete extermination." Sullivan studied the data as it came through. The Drakethil weren't just conquerors, they were a plague. They consumed resources, destroyed ecosystems, and killed for the pure joy of killing. Left unchecked, they would turn the galaxy into a wasteland. All ground teams. This is Admiral Sullivan. New priority. We're not just saving the Valyrians, we're stopping a galactic extinction event. Take no prisoners. Show no mercy. These things need to be stopped permanently. The change in human tactics was immediate and terrifying. They had fought with professional efficiency. Now, they fought with the focused intensity of a species protecting its home. Every Drakethil position fell within hours. Every alien warrior was hunted down and eliminated. The insects that had terrorized peaceful civilizations for months were systematically exterminated by predators who had evolved on a world where showing mercy meant death. Commander Valyria watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. In horror, humans didn't just win battles, they ended them completely. By the time the sun set on Valyria Prime, not a single Drakethil remained alive on the planet's surface. "Colonel Santos, this is Valyria. The capital is secure. All civilian areas have been cleared. But I must ask, where did your people learn to fight like this?" Maria stood on the steps of the Valyrian government building, her armor scorched but intact. Around her, human soldiers were already helping alien civilians return to their homes and beginning repairs on damaged infrastructure. "Commander, let me tell you about Earth," she said. "Our planet has ice ages that kill most life forms every few thousand years. We have storms that can destroy entire cities, earthquakes that split continents, and volcanoes that block out the sun for years. We have lions, tigers, bears, sharks, poisonous snakes, disease-carrying insects, and plants that can kill you if you touch them." She paused to help a young Valyrian child find her parents. And that's just the natural dangers. For most of our history, the biggest threat to any human was other humans. We spent 3 million years learning to fight to survive and to protect our families from everything on our world that wanted to kill us. Valyria was quiet for a long moment. "Your world sounds like what we would call a nightmare." "Call it home," Maria replied. "And that's why when someone threatens innocent people, we know exactly what to do about it." Above them, Admiral Sullivan's fleet had already moved to the next system under attack. The Drakethil expansion was ending, not with negotiation or surrender, but with the complete destruction of every invasion force. Humanity had emerged from the shadows, and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in its 1,000-year history. Representatives from all 17 member species crowded into the Great Chamber on Harmony Station, their faces showing a mixture of gratitude, fear, and confusion. For the first time, they were joined by 3 humans who sat quietly at a table meant for guests. Ambassador Kethera studied the reports flowing in from across the galaxy. In just 2 weeks, the human fleet had appeared at 23 different star systems. Every Drakethil invasion force had been destroyed or driven back. What should have been a months-long campaign of extinction had become a complete rout-in. Less time than it took most species to plan a single battle. The numbers were staggering. The humans had lost only 4 soldiers in the entire campaign, while eliminating an estimated 50,000 Drakethil warriors. Their ships had suffered minor damage, while destroying over 300 enemy vessels. It wasn't victory, it was annihilation delivered with surgical precision. "How is this possible?" whispered Representative Kadar from the Zenthi Union. "Their military technology appears to be centuries ahead of anything in our databases." Secretary of Xenological Affairs Robert Hayes sat calmly at the human table, flanked by Admiral Sullivan and Colonel Santos. The 3 humans looked relaxed, almost casual, which somehow made them more intimidating than if they had been threatening. "Secretary Hayes," said Ambassador Cathera, "the Council would like to understand more about your people." "How long have you been observing our civilization?" Hayes stood up slowly, his movements careful and non-threatening. He was a diplomat by training, but even he couldn't completely hide the predator awareness that all humans carried. "We've been watching your various species for approximately 50 standard years. Our first contact was with a Valyrian exploration ship that experienced engine trouble near our outer territories. You helped them repair their ship and let them leave without revealing yourselves," Belthus said from his position with the Valyrian delegation. "Why?" "Because we weren't sure how you would react to meeting us," Hayes replied honestly. "Our initial observations suggested that your species were peaceful, advanced, and had created a stable galactic civilization. We were concerned that our presence might disrupt that peace." The chamber erupted in nervous chatter. The humans had been watching, studying, learning about them for decades, while remaining completely hidden. The implications were staggering. "Representative." Kadar spoke for many when he asked, "What did you learn about us that made you think we would fear you?" Hayes exchanged glances with Admiral Sullivan. This was the moment they had been dreading and preparing for since first contact became inevitable. "You should understand something about humans," Hayes began. "We are not a typical species by galactic standards. Our homeworld, Earth, would be classified in your scientific systems as a Class 12 death world. Most Council species could not survive on our planet for more than a few days without life support." He activated a holographic display that showed images of Earth. The assembled aliens watched in stunned silence as scenes played of hurricanes that could level cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, and volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun. "Our planet tries to kill us regularly," Hayes continued. "Ice ages, natural disasters, climate changes that wipe out most life forms every few thousand years. We evolved not on a garden world like most of yours, but on a planet that viewed us as just another species to be eliminated." The hologram shifted to show Earth's wildlife. Lions hunting in packs, sharks patrolling the oceans, bears that could tear through metal, snakes with venom that could kill in minutes, and spiders whose bite could rot flesh from bones. "Everything on our world is either trying to eat us, poison us, or kill us for territory," Hayes said matter-of-factly. "We learned to hunt in groups, to make weapons, and to fight anything that threatened our families. We've been at war with our own planet for 3 million years." Ambassador Cathera felt something she had never experienced before, a deep chill that ran through her crystal bones.
"Oh."
"Your people evolved as predators. We evolved as survivors," Hayes corrected gently. "The difference is important. Predators hunt for food. Survivors fight to protect their families and communities. We became very good at both." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans, who had just saved their civilization, came from a world that would kill most of them in days. They were essentially living weapons, shaped by millions of years of constant warfare against their own environment. "How many of you are there?" asked the representative from the Korthon Republic, a species that looked like walking crystals. "Earth's population is approximately 12 billion, Admiral," Sullivan answered. "We have colonies in 47 star systems, with a total human population of around 15 billion. The numbers sent another shock through the chamber. 15 billion apex predators, armed with technology that could destroy Drakethal fleets. Without effort, hiding in the darkness around the galaxy's peaceful civilizations. What do you want from us?" The question came from multiple representatives at once. Hayes smiled. Even that simple expression carried a hint of the predator nature he couldn't completely hide. "We want to be friends. We want to trade with you, learn from you, share knowledge and culture. Your species have created art, music, philosophy, and science that amazes us. You've built a civilization based on cooperation and peace. That's something humans have dreamed of for thousands of years. But you could conquer us," Kadar said bluntly. "Your military technology is centuries ahead of ours. Your soldiers fight like they were born for war." "They were born for war, Colonel," Santos said, speaking for the first time. "Every human child learns to fight, to compete, to never give up. It's built into our DNA. But we also learn to protect those who cannot protect themselves. She stood up, her combat uniform a stark contrast to the flowing robes and ceremonial dress of the alien diplomats. I have 2 daughters back on Earth. They play games that would terrify your children, they climb trees that could kill them, and they fight each other over toys. But they also share their food with hungry animals and cry when they see others. In pain, Santos looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from species across the galaxy. Humans are dangerous, yes. We're predators, survivors, warriors, but we're also parents, teachers, and protectors.
Oh.
The same instincts that make us deadly to our enemies make us loyal to our friends. Ambassador Cathara had been studying the tactical reports from the human intervention. Your soldiers took casualties to protect our civilians. Several of your people died shielding Valyrian children during the evacuation. That's what humans do, Santos replied simply. We protect the pack, even when the pack includes people we just met. The chamber was quiet for a long time as the alien representatives tried to process what they had learned. These humans were living contradictions, gentle protectors who were also efficient killers, peaceful neighbors who carried weapons that could level cities. What happens now? Cathara finally asked. Hayes sat back down his diplomatic training. Taking over. Now we work together. The Drakethul were not the only threat in the galaxy, just the first one to reveal itself. Our long-range scouts have detected at least 3 other hostile species at the galaxy's edges. You need protectors, and we need friends who can teach us how to build something better than endless war. You're offering to be our guardians, Cater. Observed, we're offering to be your partners, Hayes corrected. You bring wisdom, culture, and the dream of peaceful civilization. We bring the ability to defend that dream against anything that would destroy it. Admiral Sullivan activated her own holographic display, showing star charts with human fleet positions throughout Council space. We have 13 battle groups positioned to respond to any threat within 72 hours. Our offer is simple. You continue building your peaceful civilization, and we'll make sure nobody destroys it. The vote took 3 hours of debate, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Galactic Council formally recognized the Terran Federation as a member species and accepted their offer of military protection. As the session ended, Ambassador Cathara approached the human delegation privately. Secretary Hayes, I must ask, how do we know you won't turn on us someday? Your people are warriors by nature. Hayes considered the question seriously, because we know what it's like to be hunted, Ambassador. Every human child learns about the predators that stalked our ancestors in the dark. We remember what it felt like to be weak, to watch our people die, while we were too scared or too weak to fight back. We won't let that happen to others. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would learn what it meant to have apex predators as protectors. 6 months had passed since humanity emerged from the shadows, and the galaxy was learning to live with its new protectors. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Un's Discovery, watching a Valyrian cargo ship docked with his vessel. Sight still amazed him. Aliens and humans working together, trading goods and ideas across the stars. Captain, we're receiving the cultural exchange students, reported his communications officer, Lisa Chang. 12 Valyrians, 8 Zenthi, and 4 Korthons. Jake nodded. His ship was now part of the first integrated fleet in galactic history, with alien crew members working alongside humans. The adjustment had been easier than anyone expected. It turned out that curiosity was universal, and both sides wanted to learn from each other. Navigation Officer Scifi, a young Valyrian with pale blue crystal skin, looked up from her station. Captain Morrison, the course to the Andorian system is plotted. We should arrive in 6 days. Thank you, Scifi, Jake replied. 6 months ago, he had been conducting secret surveys for Earth Command. Now he was leading joint exploration missions with species that had been myths in human databases. The universe had become a much more interesting place, down in engineering. Chief Engineer Morpak worked alongside his human counterpart, Pete Collins. The Zenthi engineer's fur was silver with age, but his mind was sharp as he studied human fusion technology. Your power systems are remarkably efficient, Morpak said, his translated voice carrying genuine admiration. But why do you build them to withstand combat damage? Exploration ships should never face such threats. Pete laughed, a sound that had taken the alien months to get used to, because humans learned long ago that the universe doesn't care what a ship is supposed to do. Sometimes you need to fight when you just wanted to explore. The discovery was just one example of how the galaxy was changing. On Valyria Prime, construction crews were rebuilding the capital city with a mixture of alien architecture and human defensive designs. The buildings looked beautiful from the outside, but they could withstand orbital bombardment if necessary. Colonel Maria Santos walked through the halls of the new Joint Military Academy, watching human instructors train alien recruits. The lessons were hard for species that had never needed to fight, but they were learning. Remember, the goal is not to be brave, Sergeant Rick Davis told a group of young Valyrians. The goal is to stay alive so you can protect others. Dead heroes don't save anyone. The alien students nodded, though their crystal features showed confusion. Their cultures celebrated individual courage and noble sacrifice. Learning to fight like humans meant thinking differently about everything they had been taught. Sergeant Davis asked one student, "Why do humans always fight in groups? Is it not more honorable to face an enemy alone?" Davis looked at the young Valyrian with the patience of someone who had explained this concept many times. Honor doesn't matter if your family dies while you're being honorable. Humans learned that the only victory that counts is the one that keeps everyone safe. In the Academy's main hall, a memorial wall displayed the names of the 4 humans who had died during the Drakesel campaign. Below their names, a simple inscription read, "They stood between evil and innocence. They did not step aside." Already alien families were bringing flowers to the memorial. The concept of honoring warrior protectors was new to most council species. But they were learning to appreciate those who chose to face danger so others could live in peace. On Harmony Station, Ambassador Cathara met regularly with Secretary Hayes. Their weekly discussions had evolved from formal diplomatic meetings to something approaching friendship. The crystal-skinned diplomat had overcome her initial fear of humans, though she still felt a deep respect for their dangerous nature. "Your people continue to amaze us," she said during their latest meeting. Yesterday, a human rescue team saved a Korthon exploration crew from a solar storm. They risked their lives for aliens they had never met. Hayes smiled, an expression that no longer frightened her. "That's what we do, Ambassador. We protect the pack, and now the pack includes everyone in the council. But some of our people still fear you," Cathara admitted. "They see your soldiers training your ships, patrolling our space, and they wonder if someday you might decide to conquer rather than protect." The human diplomat was quiet for a moment, considering his words carefully. "Do you know what humans call our homeworld, Ambassador?" "According to your language databases, that's one name. But our poets and storytellers have another name for it. They call it the Crucible, because it forged us into what we are. Every human carries the memory of being prey, of running from predators in the dark, of watching loved ones die, because we were too weak to save them." Hayes activated a holographic display showing scenes from human history. Not the wars and battles, but quieter moments. Families huddled together during storms, communities sharing food during famines, strangers helping each other survive disasters. We became predators because we had to, but we became protectors by choice. Every human child learns that the strong have a duty to shield the weak, that a civilization is measured by how it treats those who cannot defend themselves. Cathara watched the images of human communities caring for their vulnerable members. "And you see us as weak. We see you as precious," Hayes corrected gently. "You've built something beautiful, a civilization based on cooperation instead of competition. That's worth protecting." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Admiral Sullivan. Her face appeared on the wall screen, showing the controlled tension that meant new threats. "Secretary Hayes, we've detected long-range signals from the galaxy's edge. 3 different species, all showing hostile intent and advanced military technology. It looks like news of the Drakethel defeat has attracted attention." Hayes felt the familiar chill that came with the promise of new conflicts. How long before they reach Council space? 6 months to 2 years, depending on their propulsion systems. But there's something else. Our xenobiologists have analyzed the signal patterns. These species appear to be from Deathworlds similar to Earth, possibly even more dangerous. The implications hit both humans immediately. For the first time since emerging from the shadows, humanity would face enemies that might be as dangerous as they were. Admiral prepared the fleet and began recruiting volunteers from the Council species for expanded training programs. Already in motion, sir? But Secretary, if these new threats are what we think they are, we're going to need every advantage we can get. After the transmission ended, Cathera looked at Hayes with new understanding. You're not just protecting us from alien invaders. You're protecting us from other species like yourselves. Perhaps Hayes admitted, the galaxy is vast, and Earth probably isn't the only death world that produced intelligent predators. The difference is that we chose to become guardians instead of conquerors. As the weeks passed, the truth of Hayes's words became clear. Human fleets patrolled the galaxy's edges, watching for signs of the approaching threats. Human trainers worked with alien recruits, teaching peaceful species the harsh lessons of survival. Human engineers helped build defenses around vulnerable worlds. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, watching stars that no longer seemed empty and peaceful. Somewhere in the darkness, new enemies were approaching. But the galaxy was no longer defenseless. It had guardians now, predators who had chosen to use their nature to protect rather than destroy. The age of humanity had truly begun. And with it came both the promise of protection and the certainty of future conflicts. But for the first time in galactic history, when evil emerged from the darkness, it would find apex predators waiting to meet it in the depths of space. Human sensor arrays watched and waited. When the next threat came, when peaceful worlds cried out for aid again, the Deathworlders would be ready to surface from the shadows once more. The galaxy had learned what it meant to have monsters on their side. And that made all the difference.